This week, breakout. The rebels have been feeling the pinch. Their ports captured or blockaded. Their armies encircled or destroyed. If the Confederacy is to survive, it must breach our siege lines and escape the siege of the South. First thing this week, we return to a familiar battleground, Petersburg. You see, General Lee is in a tight spot. His army is small, his opponent formidable, and under siege, restricting his movements. But if he has it bad, his naval counterparts are in hell. Flag Officer Mitchell is stuck, his fleet useless, and under constant pressure from Secretary of the Navy Mallory to do something. So he organizes a breakout attempt. He writes to Lee asking to coordinate with the army. The goal is to strike the City Point supply station, providing provisions to Grant. The advance of the rebel vessels surprises the federal fleet, which falls back downriver as batteries overlooking the James open fire, doing very well against the three Confederate ironclads. Seem to miss the gunboat and torpedo vessel. They are slowed by obstructions, but the plan is working. Then the flow of battle changes. The Drury, the unarmored gunboat, is soon struck by shells, and one reaches her magazine. The crew are evacuated, and the vessel explodes, damaging her sister ships. The torpedo boat is abandoned, leaving the ironclads alone. Luckily for Mitchell, the Union force under Commodore Parker had fled. Parker returns on the SS Onondaga, where he finds two Confederate ironclads run aground. He opens fire on them, does some damage. The battle ends with rebels refloating their damaged vessels and return to port, having failed in their breakout attempt. This is the last gasp of the rebel navy, an afterthought compared to the army, a sickly branch of a fighting force. General Grant, receiving news of his victory, is also informed of a possible exchange. The Confederate Congress wants their prisoners back. The General-in-Chief had previously denied the trades due to concerns about colored troops, but now accepts as he has reason to believe black troops will be included. He also learns that General Lee has no interest in sending soldiers south to save the Carolinas, and writes to General Sherman informing him no trouble will come from Petersburg. General Lee has enough to worry about with his army. It's starving. He writes to Secretary James A. Seddon about his issues with the commissary. The ration is too small for men who have to undergo so much exposure and labor as ours. Sherman receives Grant's message, which encourages him as he marches forward. His opponents scramble before him. Richard Taylor takes over the Army of Tennessee and immediately has to send an overwhelming majority of his 17,700 men to General Johnston, who receives only 5,000. And Forrest takes over the District of Mississippi, East Louisiana, and West Tennessee, which is a lot of land for an incredibly small force to defend. Sherman continues to keep the Confederates guessing, having them believe he intends to take Charleston and take the city that started the war. Will he advance there, or Columbia, or Camden? Who knows? And those who know won't say. The 24th, President Lincoln wires his presumptive VP, Andrew Johnson, to not be late for their inauguration march. I bring this up only to point out how little they are coordinating. Andrew Johnson really was a candidate of convenience to win over war Democrats. Lincoln doesn't need him anymore. Sickles time, the 22nd, he arrives in Panama after a horrid journey. There's much speculation as to why he's there. Port on the American-funded railroads, talk with officials into accepting 30,000 freed slaves. He is there to procure the transportation over the Isthmus of Panama. He talks with President Calancha, who says he had nothing to do with the whole transit. It has to do with Colombia. Furthermore, he is sympathetic to our cause of liberty. To complete the task, Sickles needs to go to Bogota. That's where the week ends, and let's focus on the breakout attempt. Lee has always had the ability to move his army wherever it was needed, beating Burnside to Fredericksburg, blunting Grant in the wilderness to Cold Harbor. He is now stuck, forced in a defensive stance. Grant knows how to win a siege. Can we get out of his trap? Hi, it's Jonathan Teagan, the entire Civil War Week by Week team. I'd like to thank you as we enter the new year and as the last couple months come counting down. It means a lot, and I know we are all excited to see how this war ends. I hope you come along for the journey, and I hope to really see you next week.